It's a dream come true, to be able to produce art and have people, support you and get behind you. And, I feel blessed to be able to put this back out into the world and share it. I'm Tim Weldon. I'm a mixed media artist. I've been a creative since I was a little kid. I used to dance. I've played around in the theater. I was in the music business for a time. So everything I've ever done and sought in my life was been creative endeavors. Everything I see is always with a creative twist. And so I think it was a sort of a natural progression for me to come back here. But I did a lot of things, but it was a way. I come from a big family, and I remember drawing and painting was kind of a way to kind of tune out the chaos. And really, I'm kind of I may come across kind of gregarious sometimes, or excitable, but in general I'm mostly pretty shy and very more introspective. It's like sort of an imaginary world, and it's kind of a safe place for me, a little bit of a bubble, and I can kind of coexist in that world that I've created. It shelters me a little bit, but it also it gives me another viewpoint from that perspective as well. The process is everything. Road trips. Once I started painting again, I noticed that my senses were heightened, where like a flower blooming, the sky, the dramatic variations in the sky, the landscape in general, people. I look at people, definitely differently, from the outsider perspective as they're walking by, different personality traits, little quirks. My senses were just heightened once I, decided to pursue it, and I realized that was my calling. I feel blessed to be able to, put this back out into the world and share it. For a living, it's kind of a dream. It's a dream come true, to be able to produce art and have people, support you and get behind you, and then people are like in this tent, as everybody seems to be very generous with their time and help of trying to help you get to the next level. I started painting again, which was sort of the late 90s. What really kicked it into gear for me was the birth of my first son. That, and actually looking at life through his eyes, everything a wonder. Because I was living it all over again, as a child, in a way. And so the boys were both very influential for me early on in my work. And now that they're grown and moving on with their own lives, I find that I'm just more inspired by really other artists' work. I'm self-taught, so I look at a lot of art in magazines, books, museums, galleries, and I always look at it going, God, I wish I would have done that, or I wish I would have come up with that idea, or what if I take a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and a little bit of that, and a little bit of this, and then I put it into a pot and I stir it up, and then it comes out looking a lot like me. But because I feel like I'm just sort of the conduit for the information to come through. So I'm just a vehicle for the information to pass through. Initially, it was a guy, I called this guy that's in my paintings, I called him Whistleman because he looks like he's whistling. I think people when they whistle, they kind of have a happy-go-lucky kind of vibe to them, and I got fired from a bar before it even opened for whistling inside the place. It was a blessing that happened, but at the time it wasn't, you know. My ex-wife got me this sculpture one year that was called Whistleman. And it just was this stone, kind of smooth stone. It had a couple of little eyes, and it had a hole where the mouth was. Just really much like these figures, like this guy right here, had just a hole. And I thought, I go, Whistleman. And so Whistleman sort of found a new home. And so I call him Whistleman, but I also call him E-L, meaning the. Sometimes whoever he is in that particular painting, he's the poet, the magician, the entertainer, the chef. So he wears different hats. That's why you'll see a lot of hats in my paintings. So he has a different personality because we all have different personalities. That was probably the main source of inspiration for this look. Now it's evolved over the years, but he seems to pop up in every painting, you know? I mean, whether I want him to or not. Initially, I started out just painting. And then at some point, I got into the backgrounds were just on canvas or board, whatever I had available to me at the time. I liked the use of texture because it gave this simple look kind of an emotional punch that I wanted it to have, because I didn't want it to just feel whimsical. I wanted there to be some depth to it. And then at some point, I really loved the work of a few artists, Robert Rauschenberg, Louise Nevelson, and a painter from Oakland named Raymond Saunders. And they mixed a lot of mediums together. Actually, Nevelson did these relief of it looked like chair legs and different things at different levels. So the texture came from the ingredients. And so I would say the work evolved because of the use of different mediums and different objects, found objects, by giving it the texture. Instead of the texture coming from paint or molding paste and sand, it came from the actual relief of the ingredients. And then the paintings themselves have evolved by the variation and the depth of the texture, where they feel almost more stone-like, or they feel more, more like, now that being in the Southwest, I see all these rock formations, and driving around southern Utah, Arizona, New Mexico. So the paintings, even though they look like people, to me they feel more like rocks or boulders or monumental pieces, in the sense that the figures themselves have this sort of mountainous quality to them. What I've learned over the years also is I trust my instincts now. Early on, if I saw what I perceived as an accident, I didn't know how to deal with it. But now I embrace the happy accident, but I let it be. I let it live, because I feel like it was meant to happen. It was meant for it to come out like that. That's when I feel like you're in it completely, when I call it serendipitous exploration. Well, this is like a family here. It's like a highly functioning, dysfunctional family of creatives. And I come back every year, and I look forward to coming back every year, because I know I'm going to see a group of friends that I've met only here. And so it's special. It's turned my life around financially, for sure. But it's also my work has grown from being here. There's so much talent in the tent that you can't help but pick up different things from different people, especially when your senses are attuned to what's happening.